Hi, Michael Browning from the Whitestone Clinic again. I'm going to talk to you about a very important thing. It's kind of unique, actually, to the Whitestone Clinic. We do something called the stone count. Now, this originally is for sexual addiction recovery, right, dysphilia and so on, but we found it's useful in a number of areas that people use. And so we're going to explain it to you in mostly a sexual addiction recovery standpoint, but you're going to see how it's applicable in other areas. So what is the stone count? Well, white stone is the name for victory, okay? And we want to have white stone every day, right? That's what we want. Depends on our struggle. And when we're looking at having a white stone day, we define it as a day where we feel fully integrated, really connected, doing well in our certain areas that are important to us and so on. And that's a white stone, that's a victory day. But we also have really bad days, days we did the thing we weren't supposed to do. So with sexual addiction recovery, you're looking at porn or, you're crossing a line somewhere. And that's a black stone, right? And a black stone is a day where it was not a good day. I did the wrong thing, right? Or I'm sunken deep in depression and it was just a black stone kind of a day, right? Whatever the issue is. Sometimes we even define blackstone in 3 layers, right? So blackstone 1, I just kind of crossed the line. It was just a tangibly bad day. Something technically was wrong. It's a blackstone 1. Blackstone 2, it's the usual bad day. It's the thing I always do. It's the thing I didn't want to do. That's a blackstone 2. And then a blackstone 3 is, well, that's one of the worst days, actually. I've never gone that far before, or I've only been there a few times before. It's not a good place for me. Shouldn't be doing that. Shouldn't be in that kind of place. That kind of thing. It's a blackstone 3. So that's one area, blackstones. And then there's a middle area, the gray stone. That was invented by clients, by the way. They didn't want to call it a white stone, even though they didn't cross the line. It was a suffering day. It was not a fun day. It was full of like temptations and other issues and just a suffering kind of day. So we call that a gray stone day, right? So it wasn't a black stone because you didn't cross a certain line. And you don't want to call it white stone because it doesn't sound like a great integrated day. It's somewhere in between. That's a gray stone. So what people do is they just have a calendar. You can do it on an Excel sheet. You can do it on a paper calendar, even on your phone, whatever. And you're recording, and it could just be a simple color, black, gray, white, whatever, or it can be WGB or whatever. And they record that every day. What day was it today or yesterday? What was that day like? It was a white stone. W. Got it. The next day, it's a gray stone. It's too much temptation, too much struggle. Okay. Right. The day after that, darn it, got a black stone 1. Okay. Next day, back to gray stone. Okay. The day after, hey, white stone. A couple white stones in a row and so on. And over time, you see the trends and you start to see things. Sometimes there's a pattern. Sometimes it's not so obvious. And you recognize, it's always that struggle on a Friday or a Monday or whatever, right? The weekend's always this, whatever. You start to see that over time. After about 30 days, you get an idea. And over time, you get even better idea. And so we're looking for that, for patterns, etc. And it's a good way just to have a mini record, how things are going for you. Because most of the time, we lie to ourselves. Or if we're in a really good place, we tell ourselves it's great. We pretend it's all white stones, but it's not. Or if we're in a really bad place because we just had a really couple bad blackstone days, it's like it's all been blackstone, which is not true either, right? So we need to kind of keep record of that, and it's good to keep your therapist informed about that, and it's a great just way to keep track. Another thing to consider about the stone count is, especially if you're dealing with sobriety stuff, right? It's in the traditional kind of AA type of way. You're looking for how many days I'm sober, I get my chips for this many days, that many days, and so on. And it's like all restart when I have a slip or relapse, right? But with the stone tracking method, you have an extra ability to look at and go, that was a bad day. It was a black stone day. I was acting out. But look how many white stones I've had in the last month. Previous months, I didn't have that many white stones. You know what? I'm making progress. I'm going to make sure the next day isn't another black stone. I'm going to get back onto the white stone day, and I'm going to make that trend, and I'm going to notice month to month there's a lot less black stones, a a lot less gray stones and more white stones. And that sense of progression really builds up motivation, self-esteem, all that stuff. So we do it for that as well. I encourage you to do that, whatever way works for you. We might have an app for you, we might have other things to use, but you can use whatever you got and keep track of that yourself. Just make sure you clearly define what counts as acting out or crossing a line and what stage, and what is important to count as a white stone day. Make sure at least that's clear. Make that clear with your therapist or whoever's watching over you, because they're accountability, for you. And if you go to manipulate it or whatever, like, don't change it without informing that accountability person or therapist, because that can be a self-deception thing that we can fall into. So really encourage you, write it down, check it over with your therapist, keep track of things day to day, week to week. They might change over time, by the way, with the therapist's consult and so on. You might say, oh, that's too strict or that's too loose, and fix some things up. Oh, there's a big hole here. I didn't even calculate for that. Now what do I do with that? I just did that. I got to figure out where that lands. So you'll have, somebody to work on with that. But over time, I get clearer and clearer, and then you stick with that. It's going to be really good for you long term. Feels like a lot of work right now, but when you are your later self, your future self is going to look back on that and really appreciate you putting that daily kind of marking in there. And by the way, old rule, but it applies. If you didn't write anything down, it's a black stone. Because obviously not important enough for you. You didn't record it. You should probably have recorded it. So every day, make sure you look at your day, either the night that you're in, looking at the day you're in, or the next morning, look at the day before, and make sure you write it down so that we can track that with you and get a sense of your progress. Thanks.